All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, peace and blessings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all for tuning in tonight. Uh, First of all, we give honor and praise to the Most High for allowing us to be here. Um, and thank you all of you all who are already tuned in and listening. And also, I do want to thank this lady that we have with us. You see her name. She is the sister of Trumaine White. Now, if you saw last night's show, she called in, but also if you saw a previous video, we highlighted the demise of Mr. Trumaine White, who is a 41-year-old truck driver who was visiting his hometown of Liberty, Mississippi on October the 3rd this year. And if you saw the video, we detailed how Mr. White went to a local, what do you call it, tire shop. He went to a local tire shop, and this is the tire shop he went to. It's called Freeman and Cooper's, I think, Tire Repair. It was at this location right here where Mr. Trumaine White, who you see there, that is our brother Trumaine White, went and got his tire changed. After getting his tire changed, he left out. He was on the way to actually cut his mother's grass. He was visiting from Pennsylvania. He was a truck driver who drove for, of all things, Walmart distribution center out of Pennsylvania. And he was home on a furlough, on a visitor. There you see our brother there with his, once again, his Walmart private fleet. He was home in Liberty, Mississippi, the town of 500 people. And he was there. Once again, he got his tire changed. And while he was leaving, he had a paper towel in which he was sweating. He was wiping the sweat. And it was said by the person who eventually called the police on him that he threw something on the ground, which was a powdery white substance. Later on, it turned out to be just what it was a paper towel. Nevertheless, after he left this store, or after he left the tire place, he went to the Moose store. And the Moose store is a convenience store / gas station that you see here, where you see people order food. And if you recall the first video I did, I talked to an employee in the quote unquote owner of the Moose store, who admitted that the situation that transpired at the store was severe in his quote unquote words. Nevertheless, police came up to our dear brother while he was eating his food. They attempted to accost him, take him to jail. He began to question them. What did I do? What was the issue? I don't have any warrants. I didn't do anything wrong. And of course, police, as we see numerous videos, they take offense to that. And when he took offense to that, there was once again a situation in which they tried to forcibly take our young brother to jail against his will. Apparently, there was some sort of resistance where he didn't want to go to jail, and so it was then. And you'll hear the sister give more details. I believe that he was forcibly taken to jail. As the man on the camera, as the man who owns the Moose store, admitted that it was some severe interaction in which our brother was possibly beaten right there. and then he was taken to jail. He was taken to jail. His mother was alerted, and when he was in the jail, it was told that he told his mother, "Mama, I'm sorry, but tonight they are going to unalive me." And later on that night, that's exactly what happened. Our dear brother was found unresponsive in a cell, and the family was alerted the next day to his demise. Now, I just gave you a brief summary, but I'm going to let our dear sister uh, go on and tell the inside information about the situation and what her family has been going through with just the whole entire situation. So first of all, I do want to say thank you for joining us, Miss White, and I offer sincere condolences to your family. And once again, I thank you for trusting us to get the story out there. So I definitely want to thank you for that. And we're going to get right into the story after I play, this brief introduction. So y'all make sure y'all like and share the video. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. But make sure you like the video so we can get this information out to the public. So we're going to play this quick introduction, and then we'll be right back and listen to Ms. White tell about the situation. Thank y'all for tuning in.
From local stories to Wayne County news, get ready to dive into everything happening in North Carolina with Taylor House Publishing. Got a story to share? Shoot us an email at taylorpublishinghouse@gmail.com. If you're looking to publish your book or need some top-notch mentorship, we've got your back. Join the excitement with the one and only Richard Taylor, right here at Taylor House Publishing. Speak with Richard directly at 919-587-7782. Don't forget to smash that like button, hit subscribe, and invite your family and friends to watch.
From Wayne County to the Carolina coast, Taylor House bring the news you love the most. Tune in on YouTube, don't miss a beat. Local stories that keep you on your feet. Taylor House, we got the school. Taylor House Publishing.
All right, Miss White.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So tell us about the situation from your point of view when you found out what happened.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the honor of just having me on your show and exposing the situation. Um, Secondly, I want to thank all of the listeners as well because, it can be hard to listen to. Um, I found out on the 4th that my brother had passed, and it was around 11 something. My mother gave me a call. Um, at the time, I was en route traveling to take my children somewhere, and my husband was with me because I said, "Come with me. I want to go and pick up some cases of water from Costco." Um, had he not been with me, I would have missed the call because I was traveling and I was driving, so I'm not going to answer the call. But when the phone rang, I said, "Mom is calling. Baby, pick up the phone." And she proceeded to tell my husband what had occurred, and he couldn't believe it. Um, he, started screaming, "What, Mama? What are you saying? What? What?" And then he put her on speaker. And at that point, of course, we all heard what she said, which was tell Relvin that her brother, Trumaine, is dead. My husband and I then proceeded to think, okay, we need to get to Pennsylvania because that's where we thought he was. I had already talked to him prior, and he said, "No, sis, I'm not going to make it down for mom's birthday. I won't make it down, but I have some stuff planned, so it'll be fine." I say, "Honey, we just want you healthy and safe, so it's fine." So to hear that this occurred when he had driven down to surprise my mother was even more shocking. My mother's birthday was on the 2nd. He made it in on the 1st. Now, from Pennsylvania to Mississippi to a mid county, Mississippi, or Liberty in particular, that's over 1,200 some miles. He
Wow.
didn't have any accidents there. He drove down just fine.
So did he drive his big rig or he drove his regular car?
No, he drove a regular car that he uses for traveling. And as a matter of fact, that vehicle that he used for traveling was one of the old police issue vehicles. So, um, you know, they have different auctions or whatever, and people can buy their vehicles. And he had bought one of those, and that's what he was traveling in at the time. But that was not the car that he was using because before he made it into town, before he made it into town, his steering column stopped working. So he was right outside of town. He had to call a friend. That friend came and picked him up, and then the car was towed in. But he always kept the car at my mom's house. That particular vehicle was the Charger, and that's the one that he was getting the tire fixed on. Um, and it's presumed that he was going to use that to just drive back since he had driven down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that day with him going to get the tire changed, what
That was
have
the third.
that was the third. So
Yes, October the 3rd.
what have you learned about, that particular day?
Not much other than he wanted that tire changed, and he was patiently waiting because he had gone up there twice. He went earlier, and the gentleman told him at the tire shop that he had four people ahead of him. And my brother said, okay. So he left and went back later so that he can get the tire changed. And he did. The tire was changed. He paid for the tire, left, and then drove to the move store, um, got some gas, and got him something else to eat. And upon attempting to leave the store, he was accosted by the police with their tasers drawn. They already had them drawn. It was very hostile. I mean, they
So
approached
they
him
so
with a great deal of hostility. He didn't know what was going on. He had just grabbed his food. He didn't know.
so um but why did they approach him originally?
Um,
Not the
we never found that out until later, because my brother was asking the police the same questions. Why are you attempting to, you know, unlawfully detain me? Um, what probable cause do you have to detain me? What have I done wrong? I've done nothing wrong. What are you doing? Why are you attempting to arrest me? Why are you unlawfully arresting me? What have I done wrong? They never answered him. They just arrested him.
Okay. And that arrest was caught on footage, on tape, correct?
Yes, yes, it was.
And I think you did. Now, did y'all ever get to see that footage?
We have seen the footage, yes.
Okay. And the footage, I think you said that they were taking them around the corner, and you can
Yes,
start to see, him being, assaulted in some
You
manner.
can, you can, you can see that. But they were quite bold. They didn't mind. It was um, a little afternoon that day, and people are around town, and they didn't mind that people are out watching. They didn't mind what they were doing to my brother.
And so and it was in broad daylight. Now you
It
said
sure was.
the guy from the tire store stated that
Yes,
he was the individual.
he, yes, he's the culprit behind the scenes. He's the initiator of it
And what
all.
what did he particularly do for those who didn't who are not familiar?
He called the police because not only was my brother up there waiting patiently, he did not get belligerent with them or anything and paid for his tire, but he was sweating too much. He sweated too much. He was wiping his sweat with his white paper towel. The paper towel was thrown out. Evidently, it fell on the property of this gentleman. This gentleman then calls the police and tells them something totally different. You know, and everything else is what happened. You can fast forward to the moose store from that. But he's the same gentleman. He changes, he makes sure that their tires are done too. So, um, because this is a small town. So,
And so you because basically because I just read that news article and the guy tried to make
hmm,
like he threw out a white plastic bag with a
yes,
powdery substance in it.
yes, yes,
So,
but that was not the case. It was a white paper towel that my
yeah,
brother was wiping his sweat with.
yeah, and it says that in so much that in all the articles
Yeah,
I've read that what he said was a plastic bag ended up being a white paper towel, and so
yes.
um and you mentioned about the town. We're probably going to get to this later, but you mentioned about the culture of the town. Now, Liberty, I think, has about what 546 people population.
Possibly, if that. I mean, it's a small town. It is the county seat of a mid county, Liberty is, but other than that, it's small.
And you told me something about the history of the county and the culture of the
hmm
county.
Yes, that's where the KKK used to do have their national conventions every year. I mean, and it's historically known. And if if anybody tries to Google that, they should be able to pull it up. That a mid county, Liberty, Mississippi, is where they had their KKK national conventions. Now, the culture is still the same. It may not look like the same, but it is the same. That you still have the same families kind of pulling the shots, and you have the same belief patterns. And then those that have, you know, always believed a certain thing and felt that they need to kind of stay in their place. Um, that still is true today. It is what it is. That is one of those towns, but Mississippi, the entire state is considered a sundown state. Now, when you start venturing to the rural areas, you might not know what you're going to run into. It's just best, in some places that you not travel there at certain time frames. Um, that's as mild as I can put it. That is the town I grew up in, and it does not change.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so when he went or when the police took him from the store, uh, it
Yes.
was it was said that they took him to the jail.
Yes.
All right,
They did.
and what happened from then on? Because I know your
Yeah. Well,
mother.
we don't. Another thing, we don't know how long it took for them to get there. Even though the jail is right around the corner because it's a small town, we don't know how long it took for them to get there. What was stated to my brother, what was done to him in that cruiser, we don't know any of those things. Um, and you know, when my mother did arrive at the jail on the 3rd, where she was able to see my brother for the last time, she sat down because he was sitting on the bench, and she sat down right next to him. He looked tired, and he just looked tired and beaten up. Um, I asked her even on the 4th when she was telling me, I said, Mama, were you able to see Trumaine? Because I thought that at first they didn't even let her see him. She said, No, I saw him, baby. I saw him. I said, Okay, Mama, how did he look? Was he able to stand? She said, He just looked tired and just really upset. And I said, Mama, was he bruised, scratched up? She said, Yeah, he was hurt. So but then this is coming from a woman that just found out that her son is no longer alive
Yeah.
and is not being allowed to witness, or not witness, but she's not been allowed to view him to make um sure that with complete accuracy this is her child that is deceased. They refused access. But when she sat down next to him, um, my brother laid his head on her shoulder and he told her, Mama, I'm going to die tonight. And, she said, No, baby, just hold on. He said, I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm going to experience this tonight. I'm just sorry, Mom. He felt he needed to apologize because he already knew he was going to die. So from the time he left that moose store to the time they got him to the jail, who knows what they said and told him that they were going to do to him. But he knew it to be true. And that's exactly what happened. Because he told my mom. She just, she took it as him being upset and didn't believe that this was just going to happen. I mean, she probably didn't think they had the audacity to do that after her seeing her son. But
Hmm.
they're quite emboldened and they think that they can get away with everything.
And so, so you said so it probably when he left the moose store, it was
Hmm.
probably about 1 o'clock. You think, or somewhere.
No, it all this happened close to one, like 12 something. Because I was asking my mom these specifics as well, and it was like 12 something. So it was midday. But after they did what they did on the side of the store and kept attempting to harm my brother on the side of the store, um, they were able to finally get him. But he had no reason to have been accosted whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, even a child knows to do their best to defend themselves and protect themselves from harm.
And so
Even kittens do that. Come on.
from the time that you from when he left the store from the time your mother seen him, do you know how much
Mhm.
time was in between that?
I don't know. I do
Okay.
not know. But I do know that when she saw him at that jail, he was sitting down. They had removed the cuffs and then put the shackles on him. And she asked him why he was shackled. She didn't get a response for that. But between that and him saying that this was going to happen to him tonight, he was specific. My brother was very specific about it. Um, that that can be alluded to some other things. He wouldn't know the specifics of what's going to happen to him. Somebody had to tell him.
They already told him like, boy, we
Yeah,
gonna,
we're going to do this to you. Yeah,
and there's really nothing you can do about it because we got you in here.
we got you. That's right. But see, he should have never been gotten. More importantly, with littering, that's a ticket. Okay, that's a ticket. So you're gonna take him to jail over a ticket. More importantly, if you're taking him to jail over a ticket, why is there no information on him The
Yeah,
jail, being in the jail. What's going on with that? You know, there are a lot of things that have occurred.
yeah,
And
that's what somebody was saying. In the message, they was like, "Well, why couldn't they get him out of jail?" If you read the
because
article, they didn't have any charges. Like they didn't
they
have any
didn't.
charges. They didn't even have him in the system
He
as of
was not in the system. That's right. We
so.
couldn't get him out of jail. They were not releasing my brother. They never planned to let him go.
Yeah,
If
they
they
never.
planned to let him go, he would have already been in the system properly. Yeah.
Yeah, so he wasn't like because one article I read said your mother asked what
Yeah.
charges were against him,
That's
and
right.
he didn't have any charges.
He didn't, he still doesn't have any charges. I mean, and who knows? They may try to charge him since he's deceased, but he doesn't
So
have any charges. Yeah.
and it reminds me of like that those
Mhm.
old movies I used to watch
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
they just take you and
They
your
take you. Yeah.
family come in
And
and say, hey, what has he done? What has he done? And they just saying, okay,
yeah.
well, you can see him, you can leave now.
Yeah.
That's just it. And
Mhm.
and I got that feeling when I called that day when I said,
Yes.
who do I, do y'all know about this? And the lady kept saying, well, we can't, I have to relay you to upper management. Okay, well,
Oh
once
yeah.
I once again I can't tell you. I have to talk to administration. Okay, listen, the guy,
Right.
so it's that like I don't have to. I'm not going to say anything. You have to take it up
Mhm.
with these guys and yeah, we're gonna mention the arresting officer's name. People are already asking that, but we have those.
Mhm.
So let's go to I guess the next day.
Mhm. That's the fourth.
Yeah, the fourth.
Yes.
What time did they alert, or how did your mother find out?
They
What?
never alerted my mother. She was never alerted. She called to check on my brother to see if there was any type of charge, arraignment, or anything. And it took a minute, you know, for a while. The phone had to ring for a while. And when somebody finally came to the phone, she told them who she was and that she was checking on my brother. And they asked her if she could come up. She was coming up there anyway because she was again checking on my brother. So when she told them yes, she went up there because, like I said, I got the call after 11, and that was after she had been there for a while, asking them to let her see and verify her son is no longer around. And they refused and refused and refused. She ended up even trailing the ambulance that was taking my brother's body to the hospital in the neighboring county to see if she could possibly see and verify again. Once she had gotten there, that was when she called, I guess, and told me because she told me she was at the hospital. And but from beginning to end, there were no charges. There was refusal to identify the body on their part. Um, they um, never provided us with incident reports, even though we asked. We got the runaround on that. We have never gotten an answer from them at all.
So when your mother got to the going back
The
to she
hospital.
yeah she know when she got to the jail, that's when they told her
Yes, that is
that's
when they told her that her son is no
deceased.
longer. Yes,
So then she asked to see him, and they said no.
that's right.
And then but then they that same day they took the body to the hospital while the ambulance came while she was there, and she followed the body to the hospital.
Yes, she followed the body,
And
trying
even
to
when
see her child. Even
yeah,
going to the hospital, she was blocked from viewing his body.
She was blocked.
That's right. She was not allowed to see him. Our
And so,
family did not see my brother until after um it was the body was released to the funeral home. That was days and days later.
and they didn't release the body to the funeral home until I think you said the
Until
7th.
until no, the funeral home got it. I do not recall when they got it. I just know the body was taken care of. I think it was maybe the ninth because the seventh is when they sent it out to their the medical examiner. And then the eighth is when the autopsy was done. Um, it was shortly after that when the medical examiner wanted to release it that the body was in picked up by the funeral home, and that was it. But we were never able to see his body.
And so, because and you mentioned something. Let me see if I can pull these up about that. That intake date and the release date.
Mhm.
Hold on, let me
Mhm.
see if I can pull these up real quick because
Yes.
that is part of their cover up, if you ask me.
Yes.
Now
Because
here,
he was never released. Unless they're saying he was released to the medical examiner.
yeah, but his body had already left the jail on that day.
Mm. On the fourth, when it went to the neighboring county, which is out of their jurisdiction, mind you. And we
Yeah,
don't know what happened after that now. We don't know where they kept the body for the next couple of days before they decided to send it to the medical examiners. There are just too many concerns.
yeah, because if you look at this is the mobile patrol, and it says the intake date, October
Yeah.
the 10th,
No.
2024 at 1:33, right?
Right. Right.
Normally it has the charges up there, but this says just notify me of status of charges. And once
Mhm.
again, if you probably go on the Sheriff Emmett County website, or you look it up, you'll probably see no charges. But this is
Mhm.
what you're saying as well. Now, this is the same thing, the mobile patrol release date. And if you see the release date
Mhm.
is no October the 7th,
Mhm.
2024 at
Yeah. Yeah.
8:30.
Yeah.
But he had already been deceased for 4 days.
Yes.
And so that doesn't really make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It's sort of like they're trying to um I don't know, cover their tracks. But
Mhm.
he had
I
also
mean,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
after after they decided to not allow the family to view the body. That proves something else as well. Um, and we were never allowed to get information on my brother, but they never had him because he was never booked. He was never in inmate uniform. He still had his attire on from the prior day.
So since this happened, right?
Yeah,
What is the communication been between your family and the law enforcement office or the sheriff office or the
it's
DA?
nothing, nothing, nothing. I mean, I've called various. entities to no avail, especially the one that's supposedly taking over everything now, the NBI, to no avail. I even left several messages with the secretary of Mr. Herzog, who is over the NBI, and this was before it was made public that the NBI is now going to investigate. Um, I was calling them then. I haven't heard anything because I know NBI is supposed to get a accurate recording of everything, and that's the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation.
So, and so y'all haven't been able to see any jail footage, any.
Of course not. Now I would that would be few and far between if that would occur, and even then, I don't know if they scrubbed it or not because they have done too many things that are questionable.
And you mentioned two officers that have come up in the investigation.
Well, they just their names have just definitely come up a lot. I don't know that I want to talk about it
Oh,
because we do have a team working on that. And
okay,
so, but they are also, definitely thoroughly involved in everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it just amazes me, like they just don't have anything to say. Like they're just gonna say,
No. No.
he
Yeah.
expired in a jail cell, and that's it. And um
Yes.
the autopsy report, I assume, has not, came back yet.
When it does come back, you know, we'll see how that one turns out. But I
Mm,
have to, remind you, my brother was a hard-working truck driver, and the company he worked for does not play when it comes to um, different things because that would cause that person, you know, to be liable.
okay,
And you understand? And so
yeah,
um, it was, it's quite difficult um, because there are a lot of different running scenarios, but you cannot drive for this company and not expect, you know,
to be
instant this, instant that, making sure that your health is this way. That, you don't get a warning, okay? They're going to make sure that you're able to drive this rig and get that load there safely and hopefully get yourself there safely.
so is that one of the narratives that they're trying to put out there?
Well, I mean, I've heard some narratives, so of course that's the narrative because the narrative actually started from the tire shop guy, if
Yeah,
you recall.
yeah,
So they can try their best to run with that.
yeah.
Yeah. My brother has been driving for the company for a while. You
Mm,
know, if that would be the case, then that he wouldn't have been able to be driving for the company.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
Now, what is, if you can speak about it, like, because during the call, the gentleman
Hmm.
I spoke with said that he was a part of the local NAACP, and they are
Hmm.
some things. How has the community, or the advocacy community in the area been addressing this situation?
I actually I'm not sure, but I will tell you the community is quite shook behind it because most of them knew my brother. They knew of our family, my mother, my father, me, my other sibling. A lot of them watched us grow up. Their children went to school with us. So it's that kind of community, but you expect it if it's a small community as well. And it's quite troubling.
And so when you say the town is shook, do you mean shook as in scared, or shook as in something has to be done?
I feel like it's something that has to be done, but they have to also live in this town. So
Hmm.
if you understand the culture of this town, you understand where we are, and people, if you talk to them, someone won't even believe that this what they. But if they travel, just a little outside of the town, they'll see that they are still in the same era. Um, so they still have to live there. So they're bothered, but you know, I don't know. I know that they're extremely bothered. That's as mild as I can say. We've had some, people that have known our family for years reach out to us and say, look, we support you all, whatever you all decide, we support you all. But you have to also be mindful of the town and the area in which we live in. And my mom, reminded me, she said, baby, you know, not long ago, they still haven't found out the people that were hanging in the woods. What happened to them and how were they hanging in the woods? And I said, so this is the town that we're in.
How long ago was that?
Um, I don't know because it has happened more than once. But since I've been away, like certain things, mom doesn't tell me because she doesn't want me upset and ready to come down there and get her. And she's firm. She's 73 years old. The second was her birthday. And even though her child died on or around the third and the fourth, um, you know, she had just made 73. So my mom understands how I am. And I'm gonna be looking for answers. You need to tell me why this happened, because this should not have happened. So I need to know. And it's literally, um, I will use every resource I have to make sure something is brought to light because this is going to happen continuously to somebody else's child until they, remove enough of us for them not to be fearful of us.
And this is also, I don't know how many people remember the place where there was a mass grave site in Mississippi.
Actually, yeah, well, the mass grave site was actually in Hinds County, but
How
it's not far. It's Jackson, so that's where the capital is, but that's not far. See, they have that culture. So, Hinds County, the police there are doing the mass grave sites, right? Of people of color, mind you. And um,
where they're just taking
Rankin County has the Goon Squad, where they're, breaking down mostly males, black males' homes and their doors and going in there and doing horrible things to them. And that's the Goon Squad. Right now, they're experiencing trial. But in Hines, you know, they still got some ways to go because, it all was really unearthed when, if you all recall, there was this mother, she was looking for her son for several months, well, more than several, it was about 7 or 8 months. And of course, she was never getting anywhere with the police. And she was able to find out why she was never able to get anywhere for the police because it was the police that killed her son. Um, and then threw him in one of their mass graves for people of color. Yeah,
and that's when they start uncovering.
all of the bodies. Yeah,
And they were actually like people who, like, because I know her son, if I'm not mistaken, just got hit by the cops.
yeah, he was hit. Yeah,
He
but
was hit.
some of them were hunted down. They've been doing all kinds of stuff. They've also elected another group of people. I can't recall the name in Hines County, and they're all cops. They're all Caucasian, and they're specifically to patrol specific areas. And people got kind of scared about that because they're like, hold on, we have the mass grave, we have these cops, and now you all have voted. to get this group of people more access. So yeah, it's the underbelly that people will never want to talk about that happens quite often.
So now, like I said, I know you can't really get into everything, but y'all do have some outside help as far
Yes,
as
we
trying to
do. We
put.
do. And we've been also, I'd like to speak about building bridges. I don't know if you're familiar with Marquell Bridges. Um,
Well, Bridges. That name sounds familiar.
yes, and he's with building bridges. It's like a grassroots initiative for Black Lives Matter. And he has also been working with our family as well.
Okay.
And yes, and so he is actually the one that may have put out the first article about my brother that you all might have heard about and seen.
Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know who put the first video out.
Hmm.
Somebody sent me his
It
name
might have,
to Google.
yeah. Uh-huh. Well, it might have been that, or it might have been a shared thing from the Building Bridges community, but he typed up the first article about my brother, and we were, eternally grateful for that. But he has a lot of things that he does as well to help families as well. Um, but it's been a lot, and every day is different, and some days, you just need to breathe a little more.
Yeah.
But it's hard to rest properly, knowing that this injustice has occurred. It's occurring all over the place with different families, and they're getting away with it. Like nothing is being done.
Yes. Um, no, you just you gave me some information to check up on, and like I said, I'm gonna check up on that information, uh,
Yeah.
and hopefully, other people will be able to check up on some things. But the reason people they kind of do this is because people stay silent, and
Yes, I do.
appreciate you, Terry. People stay silent. And just like, I mentioned with the call with the young lady from the store, like she didn't even want
Yeah.
to admit that,
Yeah.
the
That
young
he,
had
yes.
passed, you know,
Yes.
and,
So, yeah.
go ahead. I'm
You,
sorry.
you were, I apologize. I interrupted you, but um, when people are fearful, whether they want to admit it or not, they get like that. They don't want to speak on it, and they'll go home and talk about it amongst their family. But when it comes to something else, they don't want to ruffle any feathers. You know, they want to stay in their place, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. What is a person's place after some type of atrocity like this? Do you have a place? I mean, these are questions. I mean, if this happened to my brother, if you have a sibling, a cousin, a relative that comes down, this could easily happen to them. Why would you stay silent?
Yeah. And that's, that's what people, that's the issue where people say, well, it's not me. I'm just going to stay
Right.
here
Yeah.
in this little place. And, you know,
Hmm.
just be okay.
Yeah.
And that's not okay.
That's
Um,
not okay.
and thinking that's going to keep it from happening to you. You
That's
know,
the issue.
That's that doesn't protect you by staying
Right.
quiet. That actually makes you more susceptible when they are ready to treat
Right.
you that way. So
Right.
um
Because, you know, um, with this type of hate, they only see the complexion of the skin. So you're going to be a target regardless. And it's not just the men anymore. They target the women as well, more aggressively now. So it's it's different, but you can't just be silent.
yeah, and I thank you for coming on and speaking about it as much as you can. I know there's a lot much more to the story that
Yes, it is.
there's that you might want to keep close to your chest. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to put a real live person with the story, because we hear these stories all the time, but we 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 looked at them from an outside point of view, but you have given us an inside point of view,
Right.
and some other information to kind of pursue that
Mhm.
I am going to pursue in this matter. So I
I
thank you
appreciate that.
for taking the time, to come and talk. I know this is not something easy for you to talk about. So I don't take
Yeah.
that lightly. I thank you for once again trusting uh, me to get this information out. And so I don't want to, hold you too long because I know you say you didn't want to stay on too long. But is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience concerning this case or concerning anything else regarding your brother?
Um, Again, I just want to thank the audience for listening. Um, I'd like to thank you for inviting them on as well. And I do want to, if any families are just looking at your podcast or your show on YouTube or whatever, I want to encourage them not to give up. And there will be some different days. Some days they might not even want to get out of bed, but they have to still press on because these types of injustices will continue and they'll only get worse if they remain silent or they just accept it as a status quo when there should never be a status quo when it comes to human life. Um, so, thank you.
Thank you as well. And people are sending a lot of love through you, through the chats, and I just thank you for sharing. And my number is always open for you. My line is always open to you. And
Thank
so,
you.
um, I'll
Um,
contact with you and I'll let you know what I find out, Monday.
okay. Well, thank you again.
All right. Thank you as well. And I hope you have a blessed evening.
You too.
All right. So it's it's very emotional for our young sister, Miss White, and the White family to have to really endure this. And I didn't want her to get too emotional talking about it. If anybody saw the show last night, she called in and she was willing to tell a little bit of the story, and then she got sort of emotional there. So I know it's a tough thing to deal with, when you have a relative that you love and that is full of life, and somebody with an evil spirit or evil heart, a heart full of uh you know demagoguery, just takes it out because they can, and they feel like they can get away with it. But that's why, we as a people must take the steps, to ensure that, we don't let it happen, and however that looks, again, albeit, keeping the light on it, or, standing up for yourself, defending yourself, you know, reporting it to the people in higher power, hoping once again they do what they are supposed to do. But this is something that we can't let be swept under the rug. Like I said, this happened on October the 3rd, a month and 6 days ago. You'll probably see you'll probably see a few articles. And actually, here is one article I'll play real quick. But this is one article that speaks to the senselessness of the moment. It says, how does such a minor moment end like that? Family and attorneys seek an answer on inmates' demise. But keep in mind that the sister just said he was never an inmate. He wasn't even put in the system. He doesn't even have charges. So even that title right there, it's going to make the public seem like Mr. White was a bad guy. You see, that's the danger of the media right there. Look at this article. It says inmate. He wasn't an inmate. But that is the danger of the public. So down there looking at this, oh, well, he was in jail. He probably deserved it. And this article, once again, mentions the word inmate at the Ammont County Jail. And right now, as we look into this is the family's attorney. We are considering whether this is racially motivated. We are considering whether this was excessively violent. Now, we know that it is so because the man at the store said it was severe. When I asked him, okay, what was the what was it as bad as people say it was? The guy said it was severe. And here it is, the timeline, as they all point out, the third or the fourth, we know it's the third, that White went into a tire shop in Liberty to buy a tire. As he was leaving, the 41-year-old threw something out the window, allegedly. An employee at the tire shop called the police, accused White of throwing out a clear white baggie with a white powdery substance inside of it. Now, we all know that it was a paper towel. White went to eat at the local restaurant, Moose Restaurant, not long after law enforcement officers came inside and arrested White and took him to jail. Now, they don't say how he was arrested. He was violently arrested. DeCello said he wants to know what happened to White after he was taken into custody. How does a minor moment end in such a manner? What we see right now suggests that the officer's conduct directly contributed to his demise. Directly. Okay, now here are the questions in the article that must be visited. Which agency arrested White? Was it the police or the sheriff? What charges was he given? Right now, we don't see any charges. How many hours did White spend in jail before his demise? Probably not many. They probably took him somewhere and did him, as they say, they probably did him dirty. Was excessive force used? Once again, his mother can attest to the fact that he looked worn and tired. What was the exact cause of his demise? That is something that has yet to be determined. It says that he was arrested, that he didn't want to be arrested. We know that. And the officers forcibly took him into jail. Now, how much force is used? Who uses that force? And when are all a part of the facts that we are developing in our investigation right now? Of course, they reached out to the Liberty Police Department, and then they told it, now here we go, that they're playing musical chairs. They reached out to the Liberty Police Department, and then they told them to contact the Amite Sheriff Department. After the calling the department, they told the news article that MBI is now taking over the case, and they have no further comment. You see how they are playing musical chairs. Now we have to see who is the MBI agent. And we know MBI agents are directly connected to the particular counties and departments that they investigate often. So is this, an agent that is going to be bipartisan or impartial to this particular office? And it says the agents are continuing to investigate and gather evidence and information. This remains an open and ongoing investigation. Now, the Amite County coroner, an autopsy report is still behind in the exact code. Of course, it's behind. Y'all got to make a way to make this seem right. So we'll continue. Let's see what they actually say in this, if it lets me play it.
County, the State Bureau of Investigation.
Okay, we can't get that off real quick. Let's skip this.
Is looking into the death of an inmate at the jail. 41-year-old Trumaine White died October 4th.
Nearly a month later, unanswered questions still surround his death. Our Quentin Smith speaks with the attorney representing White's family. Quentin joins us now to tell us what we've learned so far. Quentin.
That's right, Courtney. And attorney Bobby DiCello is representing the family of Trumaine White. He's investigating himself what happened. While there are still more questions than answers right now, he believes excessive force used by law enforcement officers played a role in White's death.
Right now, as we look into this, we are considering whether this is racially motivated. We are considering whether this was excessively violent.
Bobby DiCello has now been brought in to represent the family of Trumaine White. The 41-year-old was a truck driver who died earlier this month while behind bars at the Amite County Jail.
How does such a minor moment end in death?
Though things are in the early stages of the investigation, DiCello says, here's what we know so far. On October 3rd or 4th, he says, White went into a tire shop in Liberty to buy a tire. As he was leaving, he threw something out of his window. An employee at the tire shop then called police and claimed it was a clear white baggie with a white powdery substance. However, White refuted that claim, saying it was a paper towel that he threw out. The 41-year-old then went to eat at a local restaurant. Not long after, that's when law enforcement officers came in and arrested him and took him to jail. White later died at the Amite County Jail on October 4th.
What we see right now suggests that the officer's conduct directly contribute to his death. Directly.
At this time, DiCello says there are still a lot of unanswered questions. Things such as which agency arrested White? What charge or charges was he given? How many hours did he spend in jail before his death? Was excessive force used? What was the exact cause of death? All answers DiCello is now working to find out.
He wasn't standing outside and fell down and then passed away in the jail. He didn't fall down and then go to the hospital and then die in the jail. He was arrested. He expressed that he did not want to be arrested. We know that, and we know that the officers forcibly took him into jail. Now, how much force is used? who uses that force and when are all part of our facts that we're developing in our investigation right now.
Now, we reached out to the Liberty Police and the Mid-County Sheriff's Departments about White's arrest and death. Neither gave us any information, only saying MBI is now handling this case. A spokesperson with the Department of Public Safety released this statement to us saying, agents are continuing to investigate and gather evidence and information. This remains an open and ongoing investigation. The coroner tells us an autopsy report is still being done at this time, so we do not know the exact cause of White's death. Quentin Smith, 3 on your.
And so you have, hold on. So there you have the news article. Again, labeling Mr. White as an inmate. Right there, I don't want to, hear anymore. Because that right there is a tactic that they use to demonize the person who was the victim. Malcolm X told us, and I use this quote a lot. If you're not careful, the media will think have you thinking that the victim is the criminal and the criminal is the victim. And there you see them labeling Mr. White as an inmate, a criminal. Once again, he is just a truck driver coming home to visit his mother to celebrate her birthday, and ends up getting into it with the police. And I think, my brother Trumaine, who is from Liberty, Mississippi, and I'm from a small town as well. And I think my brother moved out to Pennsylvania, been starting traveling the world, and was like, he was coming home and he was doing his thing, come in and out, and the police came up and he was like, nah, y'all not this ain't that no more. You know what I'm saying? I know how it is here, but I'm not that guy. You're not taking me to jail for what? And of course, a lot of times those officers, especially in those towns, anytime that you express that, then they are going to take offense to it. And so that's what it looks like to me, that he got an outside taste of how people are supposed to be treated. And he was willing to stand up for his rights. Now, I didn't throw nothing out the window. Now, it was not, you're not taking me to jail. You know what I'm saying? I know my rights. And then they got into it, and my brother stood up for himself probably. And, those guys evidently told him on the way to the jail or wherever they took him that, all right, you're going to pay for that. And the fact that when his mother came to see him, that he told her, I'm sorry, mama. They are going, this is going to be my last night. Because I done overstepped the boundaries of the culture or the protocol or the unwritten rules here in Liberty, Mississippi. I stood up for myself. And they had him in custody, sitting on a bench, not in a jail cell. And as one article said that, his mother asked, okay, what kind of charges do you have on him? And there were no charges. And so he was never entered into the system, meaning they had no intentions of releasing him. Because when you I heard somebody in the chat ask, okay, well, since he was why didn't nobody get him out of jail? Because he had no charges. He had no bond. He hadn't been charged with anything. And so that is why they kept it like that. Because if, somebody would have been able to get him out of jail, then, he would have been able to walk out of there alive. But that leads me to believe that they had no intentions of letting out their brother out alive. And so this is a situation that I am going to keep my eyes on. I'm going to make a couple of calls to those authorities, but I just felt the need to let that story be shared tonight because just listening to her last night was just so heart-wrenching. And so somebody just sent me this scripture, Ephesians 6:12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers over the present darkness, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. And it's definitely a spirit of wickedness over the state of Mississippi. There have been several cases in recent months in Mississippi, but you have to consider the overall history of Mississippi. And somebody keep mentioning the Danye Jones case. Now, is that King Darren? That's not King Darren, is it? Or King D? So yeah, that is, yeah. Okay, yeah, he was the son of the activist. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna definitely look into that case as well. And that happened in Missouri, and let's not forget the case of Darren Seals as well. So we all of these things are things that happen in Mississippi. So we're definitely going to look into those things because a lot of them do not make the national news. But Mississippi is they said that was where the most lynchings took place by far. Like Mississippi is the state where the majority of lynchings have taken place. And there's just an evil overall. Now, I haven't been to Mississippi, but it's funny because I said I want to go to Mississippi. I want to go to Mississippi because I wanted to, feel that, and most of all, I just wanted to go to Medgar Evers' birthplace, in Jackson, and but I was thinking the same thing. Like if I go to Jackson, like I'm not gonna be out at nighttime. Like literally, I was thinking this. Said I'm not gonna be out at nighttime. I'm gonna stay downtown where the black. I'm not riding around. I'm just going to this particular historic site, and wherever else you go in Jackson, where black people are safe at, and then I'm getting out of there. But yeah, so the family has seen the arrest video. Appreciate you, Earth Keeper. Let me read that Second Chronicles. I'm gonna read that one. First Chronicles what's that, 21 and 15. Let's see what we have here. And God sent an angel to destroy Jerusalem. But just as the angel was preparing to destroy it, the Lord relented and said to the angel, stop. That is enough. So I think and I heard you speaking in the comments, my brother. I think you said that our time is now, to end this, or our time of oppression is up. And I definitely agree. I think a lot of people are waking up to what we are experiencing. Because we have a lot of people who feel like, well, I've made it. I don't know about y'all, but I made it. I don't experience that. Like, I work, in the corporate world, and all my friends, I had never have any problem with nobody, but there's a lot of things like this happen where it speaks to, it's not all good. It's not all good for everybody. And one day it might not be good for you when you end up in a situation where it's either you or them. And so your Biloxi, Mississippi, Biloxi, like any town in Mississippi, like the whole Mississippi is just like, and I've never and people, my homeboy, he was like, man, when you be doing the Mississippi burning videos, man, you lose me at that. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, we gotta put out the news, but I've never watched that movie Mississippi Burning. Because I don't like to watch the historic slave movies and like The Butler and 12 Years a Slave, and where they dramatize our trauma. I don't like that. I don't like those movies. I don't like to dramatize a harsh evil that has been done to people. So, but I might have to watch it now, just to get a handle on what they're saying. Or I just have to do a little more story on Mississippi. Yeah, and I hear you, Nia NYC said they act like they are still enslaved, and that's what I got from the young. Yeah, I watch Roots. I can't have it. I probably can't watch it all the way through. It was just too long. I remember when it used to come on TV. My sister used to watch it. I didn't like it. I wanted to watch wrestling or something. But when I talked to the lady at the store, she gave off that demeanor, like, yeah, like, don't you come around here causing no trouble now. No, they had a funeral for the child, and I don't really want to go on hearsay. Well, I don't know nothing about that. That's the kind of vibe that she gave me. When I started to ask about our brother Trumaine White, well, all I know, they had a funeral for the child. Now, this is a 41-year-old man, and this black woman is going to call this 41-year-old man a child. That's one thing that I had to, Surviving the Game. Yeah, I watched the Surviving the Game. If y'all ain't watched that, y'all might want to do it. Yazoo, Mississippi. Yep, Yazoo, Mississippi, Yazoo City. And a lot of those, like I had a brother who was locked up in the feds out there in Yazoo City. And a lot of those towns bring those prisons to those people in those towns to give them jobs, because what else are they going to do? It's crazy how and even our sister Miss White mentioned that. It's like they scared. They living in a time where they they don't want to admit what's going on. But hopefully this situation will kind of give them a backbone or give them some ability to see what's going on, man. See what's going on. But yeah, man, and those down south states, even sometimes around here, I see that that mindset of, well, how you better stay in your place. Don't be talking. A lot in my hometown, I've called out the sheriff. I called out the police department. I called out the DAs. I called out very prominent people, and even my own mother one time. She said, "Why did you keep making those videos about those people?" And I know what she meant. You know what I mean? Because like, well, they've done wrong. I'm like, okay, well, like, this, don't we supposed to call out unrighteousness? But it goes to, once again, the history of fear that have been instilled in our people to never question or never challenge or never call out the wrongs, of white people. Like, back in those movies that you see where the dude can come in and just, hey, send little Sally over here to the store at 12 noon. And the mother and the father knew what that old crooked pervert was about to do to the little Sally, but they know if they did anything otherwise, then he coming to string somebody else. He gonna string little JoJo, the son, up by his bootstraps the next night. And so they had that. Okay, well, we know it's wrong, but don't you say nothing. Don't you say nothing. You let us be. We still got to keep dealing with that, but you let us be. Even at jobs, it's like that. You right? Yeah, you right. And people will endure that same kind of treatment, that same kind of disrespect for their check, for their money. I've done it myself, so I ain't even gonna front. This dude keep running here talking to me like I'm crazy, like I'm 5, but I'm making $1,500 a week sitting on the phone talking. I took it for long as I could, though. I did. But that's just it. I took, what I'm saying, because what you put up with the disrespect, you put up with the evil for your comfort level. But some people just can't do it. And I think, that's what my brother was dealing with, when he encountered those police that day. He was like, no, I'm not taking this anymore, man. I don't gotta take this. I'm up in Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the same little boy. Now, I don't know, once again, and I didn't get into Mr. White's history with the local police. I had a local history with the police when I came back here, but I know who they are. They know who I am. Of course, I'm not out doing the same things I was, so we don't have any reasons to be at odds with each other. And so, but maybe he dissed one, or they always want him and they couldn't get him, and he escaped the system, whatever that means. Not saying that's the case, but I can't think of a reason why the police. And even before I talked to his sister, right? Even before she called, I just got it in my mind that, okay, well, look, and because the first article said that he left a tip. And I was thinking, okay, that tip he left could have been an insult to that guy who changed his tire, who can't leave tips like that. you know, and that may have been the catalyst to him saying, man, this uppity Negro come on here, man, and with his fancy clothes, man, and this nice gold chain and his fresh haircut, you know, his nice new clothes. Cause you know we were fresh. Anytime you out of town and you come back, you gotta come back fresh. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like this, he like Joe didn't pull that. You know, so I automatically assumed that was the case. Well, you know, he came home and you know they didn't like the way he wasn't kowtowing and cowbelling to them. You know, kowtowing as they say, you know, and holding his head down. All right, you know how they used to tell us, you don't look that man in the eye. What you doing looking at man in the eye? What you don't look that man in the eye. What's wrong with you? Like something was wrong with you for standing up. You know, so who is Joe Portland? Who is Joe Portland? I got to do some research on Joe Portland. I see Joe Portland. Who is Joe Portland? African-American sharecropper. Okay. In Drew, Mississippi. Okay. But before, okay, but not before he knocked off 3 members. Okay. 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 So, but not before. Okay. So they were coming to get him. And see, that's what I like right there. He had a dispute over the amount he owed and refused to give permission for Portland to leave. They say Sanders, you know, let off on Portland, but Portland got the 38 and he went and knocked off Sanders. He ran to the swamps with about 75 rounds. A posse of 1,000 men formed to capture him, including the sheriff of Clarksdale and the department machine gun. Portland's knowledge of the terrain and sharpshooting skills helped them. Terrence Finnegan's account pointed out such incidents were common in that area, especially in December at settlement time when money was paid for crops. Such events most commonly happen when the tenant-landlord relationship. In his account, Sanders was mad because Portland used money to fix his house and purchase necessities. Portland believed that the money was his to pay for work previously done but wasn't paid for. Sanders went to Portland's house with J.D. Manning, probably some of the Manning's brothers. And we got to be careful of who we worship. J.D., you know, the Manning's, Ole Miss, and all that stuff. When Sanders demanded the money of $50, Portland pulled out the tray 8 and blinded him. He then ran to the bayou as Manning got a share of posse. So he didn't hit one of them. You know, what's the song? You know, dead men tell no tales. When the posse arrived, Portland started letting off, hitting 3 of them. Posse then started letting off at him, and when that didn't work, they got some gasoline and set the ditch he was in on fire. Meantime, some of the others from the posse got a machine gun and automatic rifles from Clarksdale. When they came back, they set up and started letting off again. They lasted for an hour. When Portland fled from the ditch, they hit him several times. Then the posse members tied him to a car and dragged him. And then they said they knocked this state, they detached his ear, put it in the alcohol, and showed in a store display after that. So, okay, I appreciate y'all for letting that be known in the comments. That's wild. And people, that was in 1923. So that's 100 years ago. I might have to do a whole, you know, a whole thing on that, because the sharecropper and tenant relationship was still like slavery. Like they lived on the property, and only thing they got to crop, but only thing they got to keep was like a little bit of food. and the money that they got paid was minuscule. So this guy stood up for himself and was like, nah, man, I'm using this money to pay for some repairs on my house. But if you see, when he let off on them, it took 1,000 men. That's how cowardice they were. Like, okay, look, him and this man had a dispute. He got the better of him. Let's take him to jail. He paid for it. No, 1,000 men. That's how afraid they were of this John Pullen. And you see, he went to the and people talk about the Great Dismal Swamp too, where a lot of the people fled to the swamps because it was in places like that where they could pick them people off, like our brother was doing. He was in the ditch, just picking them off, and they couldn't hit him because he was in the ditch. Well, yeah, 1,000 to 1. 1,000 to 1. I appreciate that. I never heard about Joe Pullen. I'm gonna have to dig them up. But yeah, it's cowardice, man. And that's why you saw them in the sheets pulling up on people in their yards, covering their faces in the dark of the night. They won't come when you ready for them, when you alert. You know what I'm saying? When they always came and woke people out of their sleep while they groggy and not alert, because they just didn't have that advantage like that. So, and that's what you see right here with our brother Trumaine White. They cowards, man. It took them got the event. Evidently, my brother, I'm not saying this is true, and I haven't heard as much, but I'm thinking my brother don't put hands on them people. He don't put hands on the people, and they couldn't handle it. They couldn't beat them 2 or 3 against 1 with their little weapons, and you know what I'm saying? He probably was pop, 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 tagging them up. And that's what, led to, them doing it to my brother. But we're going to keep the pressure on them, man. I'm not going to hold y'all. We already started late because I started at 9 because she's on, Central Time. So that was 8 for her. So, but I thank you for tuning in. As always, thank y'all for the donations and the Cash App and the super chats and all those things. Thank y'all for liking and sharing the video. I really appreciate y'all. I hope y'all have a blessed night. May God continue to bless y'all. No weapon formed against us will prosper. The Lord has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of sound mind. So justice for Trumaine White, justice for Javion McGee, and all of the other people who have lost their lives at the hand of this wicked, evil system and these wicked, evil law enforcement officers that are, quote, to be able to serve and protect, but they only serve and protect the interests of those whom they deem fit. 919-587-7782. I appreciate y'all. Peace and love. Y'all be great.